Hello, and welcome to Bucovery, where East meets West as we learn from Buddhist psychology how to deal with mental health and health issues. And now your host, Tyler Woods.
Hi there. It's good to be back after taking 2 months off, and we're back now with our podcast. So I've chosen today to talk about what we do when a toxic person or a toxic group of people come into your life and you come across them. How do you cope and deal and learn to let go of how those toxic people have hurt you? Now, I've tried to choose a Buddhist perspective or a Buddhist point of view, more of a spiritual point of view, but let me get this perfectly straight with you. Spirituality is not about becoming the person you're supposed to be, or is it about doing the spiritual thing? To be spiritual is to compassionately welcome your truth, what you actually feel, whether you like this truth or not. So let me share my truth this week on Bucovery. Hi, I'm Dr. Tyler Woods, and not long ago, I ran into a group of people that have passed really vicious rumors about me and tried to get a community to act against me. And that's right, they tried to convince people in my personal community to try to act out against me. And they were very toxic to me, and their intent was to create harm to me because perhaps they were caught doing something they ought not have been doing. They lied, they conspired, and they got people to choose sides by being relentless with their dishonesty. Now, there was a group of them, the very toxic people or the very toxic person and their followers. But what surprised me so much was when I happened to bump into them was my reaction towards them. In the past, I have been hurt and angry, very angry and very hurt by them. But this time, I only had compassion towards them. I didn't get angry or upset or think, why me? I just figured, why not me? It was in that very moment that I really began to understand that these negative people or toxic people are people that provide us with a great test. See, nothing goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. So this group of people who do not like me and who like to spread rumors and create havoc around them, this group of people are going to be my greatest teachers. I understand that it's easy to accept pleasant people and their circumstances, but practicing acceptance with regards to people and circumstances that we find hurtful, difficult, or challenging, or that is filled with a negative intent, is a true path to spiritual growth. Now, I learned I had to accept these people for who they were, and I knew they were suffering. And I understood it was about spiritual growth in Buddhism and that they would be my teachers of compassion. You see, dishonest and toxic people have caused you deliberate harm and can make you feel angry and hurt and even bring back the moments in life where they mistreated you, they lied, and then they created what I call a hate bomb. And I think the only way we can deal with this is through Buddhist teachings. No, you don't have to be a Buddhist to practice Buddhist teachings. But here's the bottom line. Even if they deserve your bitterness and hurt and anger, when you're angry, you should not hold on to it, because carrying those feelings or holding on to them can only create harm to you and allow these toxic people to win. Now, here's a question I ask you. Do you really want to give them that power? You see, here's the bottom line. Toxic people suffer from so many problems, things like pain, suffering, affliction, neurosis, psychosis, paranoia, fear, tension, anxiety, depression, and they've all fallen off the emotional wagon. Some of these people are so unhappy, they even have to take medications to keep them functioning in their society. They're that miserable with their life. They suffer so much, they tend to gather around people who, much like them, are suffering. And with that said, the practical approach to anyone who is suffering is through compassion. Now, I get that many get confused what compassion means, so I just want to simplify it real quick here. Compassion is the mind that is motivated by cherishing other living beings and wishes to release them from their suffering. That's pretty easy. Let me say that again. Compassion is a mind that is motivated by cherishing other living beings and wishes to release them from their suffering. Now, is it easy? It's not. It takes an awful lot of meditation, peace of mind, practice, willpower, and really it's a discipline. So let me simplify what a toxic person is. A toxic person is someone who lacks empathy, and they boast about their honesty, so they don't even see the problem with being dishonest with themselves as well as others, because they're so dishonest with their own selves. And the biggest concern with these kind of toxic people is they bring down others in order to bring up their own self-worth and self-esteem. They will spread vicious rumors and use words to try to inflict pain and suffering. It's almost like they use words to poison you because of their own pain and suffering. In fact, these toxic people who we are learning right now that they are people who choose to suffer, they're creating what I call negative karma for themselves and the conditions for their future of unhappiness and suffering. That's the bottom line. They become more judgmental and unhappy. And they should learn from a great spiritual leader who said, "Judge nothing and you will be happy. Forgive everything and you'll be happier. Love everything and you will be the happiest." Now, I have to say, I personally am not perfect. I fail that compassion and acceptance probably every day in many ways. I do find that my daily spiritual practice of meditation makes it easier for me to live and act from a centered, more peaceful, loving place. Recently, I had a person who was addicted to their very own trauma. Oh my goodness, you walk past them and they'd tell you, you would be in a public area and they would tell you how horrible their trauma was. And I felt myself, because I was so tired of listening to their inappropriateness around their trauma, that I felt myself having very little compassion for that person, because that was all they focused on, their trauma. And I got to the point where, thank God, they're no longer in my life, as I would not allow it. And they became so attached to their suffering that, like I said earlier, they found followers, other people who wanted to walk the path of suffering with them. Now, I lost a couple of quote friends that day because I refused to become their injury that they were attached to. I did not want to support their trauma, rather their healing, but they couldn't see that. Now, at first, when I spoke of these people, I used the word anger. But today, I awoke. I got how much pain and affliction and that neurosis, that psychosis, that fear and tension and abuse and attention-seeking behaviors, and their desperation. That's all they have, and I had nothing but utter compassion for them. In fact, the one lady lost a relative recently, and I sent her a kind, compassionate letter. I figure when someone's that sick with their own suffering, you have to give them compassion. And after I did that, I felt like a house